Welcome to the Undiscovered Gems podcast, hosted by NBA legend and business powerhouse Charles D. Smith, highlighting today's best and brightest business minds.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and you're watching the show. You are now watching Undiscovered Gems, and I'm your host, Charles D. Smith. I happen to be a former NBA player, but I like doing podcasts. Today, we have someone on the show that is a transformational life coach. The initials are TLC, and I think she does tender loving care also when she deals with her clients. We'll find out about that. But Donna is here. She's from Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, and she believes that she can empower people to live the lives that they want to live. She has a lot of great experiences that put her in the position that she's in today. Donna, we are happy to have you on your show. How are you?
Good. How are you? I'm so happy to be here.
Doing very well, very well. Now that I get to interview you, when there are a lot of people who go through their lives and they're sort of broken down to be picked back up. And when they get back up, they're transformed themselves in so many different ways. And I think you are too. So why don't you share with the audience? The first question that I have is, how did you get into this?
So, it's always been within me, but it never came out until I'd say about almost 2 years ago when I had a very severe health condition that was undiagnosed. So what ended up happening to me is one ordinary morning, I just woke up and what I thought was just a little stomach pain ended up turning into a full body chronic pain by the end of the day where I could barely move. I couldn't walk. I went to hospitals. There was like no absolute pain relief. And at that point I was like, oh my God, I'm literally hitting like rock bottom, you know? And so, weeks turned into months of testing. I had to have people come to the house to do tests because I really had no mobility whatsoever. So my life in just a matter of like a few hours flipped. I was a single mom, working, walking, running around, being able to drive, cook and all those things. And then all of a sudden I could barely stand without being in chronic pain. And so, my desperation for pain relief actually became determination. So I started searching for ways to rebuild my life because at this point, I was just living off savings, literally burning through it, trying to get on disability. I couldn't really work, let alone move. And that's when I found a 5-day transformational challenge online and something just flickered in me. And even stuck in bed, I realized that, I could help others transform as a transformational life coach. I didn't have to be able to walk and be out in public. And saying yes to that calling changed everything. So soon after, I finally got a diagnosis and began healing. And now I'm living a life I love. And I'm even able to help others do the same. So, if I can turn pain into a purpose, I know anyone else can as well. And I've seen it. And that is one of the most magical moments as a life coach. And just, to see people succeed and be happy and not have to fight and struggle, life just align and, be able to feel that peace instead of those heavy weights of, circumstances and situations of everyday life.
Right. No, understood. When you go, basically what you explained, you end up developing a certain mindset and a mindset, a mastery that helps you progress in ways, and it's a mindset that you didn't have before. So, everybody needs that when they're going through something. They need to make the shift of their mind for healing, for happiness, whatever they're going through. The mind is so powerful. We don't tap into it, but talk a little bit about that and the mindset that carries people through these times.
Yeah, because I mean, I've had other hard times before this, and I just always focused on the worry or the unknown or like what is going to happen or what this, like more on the negative aspects.
Right.
And this time around, because I already experienced that doesn't work,
Right.
I
Right.
decided, hey, I have nothing to lose at this point. Like life is so like I'm just going to try to stay positive, and just say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to conquer whatever this is so I can be the mom that I want to be. So I
Mm-hmm.
can do the things that I want to do. This isn't going
Right.
to be my end point. And just by, flipping that or shifting that, your thoughts, it's amazing what actually comes out of it. You know what I mean? Because now you're moving towards something instead of staying stuck in the negativity and like the I don't know and the worry of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So just by even, changing your vocab and words a little bit can also help with that shift. And
Right.
it's just baby steps, one baby step at a time. You don't want to do too much, otherwise you'll spin around and crash, like, because then it becomes consistency and it becomes part of your everyday life instead of
Right.
just trying to dive into it.
Right. And how do you deal with your clients? Something you just said, you got to build trust. They have to know that you're equipped to help them on those baby steps. So
Yeah.
what does a client expect when they come through the doors or online to deal with Donna Day?
It really depends person by person.
Hmm.
However, what I like to do is I first open it up to, let's just have I call it either a discovery call or a strategy call. So that way, someone may hear about me or hear me on a podcast or find me online, and I'm just image at that point. I want to become, a real person. So, in their reality. So I usually do about a 30 to 40-minute strategy call before anything goes. And they get to know me, and I get to know them and what they're struggling with and what they're hoping to achieve and, where they are now and where they want to be. And that's when we both determine if we're a good fit. It's not just me, saying, okay, yeah, I'll definitely be your coach, like if there's someone that could help them better, I
Hmm.
will literally, tell them, you know what, you might want to reach out to this coach because I feel like they'd be a better fit. My goal as a coach is to just really help people, not feel stuck, not feel like this is the end all, like I want people to feel like and know that there is more to life, and
Hmm.
everyone has access to it, and give them the tools and guidance and support in order to achieve that. So
Hmm.
so that's one thing I can say. I'm not going to just take on anyone. I want to make sure we're a good fit and that I would be the best coach to help them, and I would want them to feel comfortable as well. It's kind of like finding a therapist, like if you don't connect with them, how good is the therapy going to be?
Right.
Like
Right.
you need to be comfortable and, have that present there for it to really, have results and
Sure.
for it to be
Sure.
successful. Yeah.
Right. What are some of the ways you help people transform? What are some of the subject matters that you deal with in your transformational life coaching?
I've helped people, especially like single moms, that either just went through a divorce or they've just kind of been stay at home and they just don't really know where to go from here. I've
Mm-hmm.
kind of helped them find themselves again, because as a mom, you lose a little bit of that because your world becomes everything about your kids and family,
Sure.
so that's one area that I've helped. I've also helped a lot of people that want to start new businesses, but really don't know where to go from and are a little bit unsure or nervous to break away from working
Right.
from someone else, but they have a dream. I've also worked with a lot of women and men that have gone through very abusive or like trauma relationships, and recovering, like, finding yourself, and discovering your self-worth again and your confidence after being kind of put down so long,
Mm-hmm.
and being
Mm-hmm.
able to fully feel. But there's also just been people that have just they just kind of are like, I don't like this job, like, but I don't
Right.
know what else to do. I went to school for this. I've, done all this education. I've been in it for like 20 plus years. Now I'm getting to an age, but like, it's not fulfilling. But like, can I move out of this? Is that gonna, be a bad move, and help
Right.
people with that? So, I mean, ultimately, I'm just very passionate about guiding people to break free from their limiting beliefs and fears that hold them back, and really truly live like their fullest, most vibrant lives. I just, I believe in true success and happiness, and that it comes from aligning within. So
Right.
that's how, I go about things. You go from the inside out. So you
Right.
start to heal from here, and then everything around you starts to change without you even trying.
Right. Right. You know, the opposite of fear, you mentioned fear is faith.
Hmm.
How much does that equate into your work and what a person needs? Because the reason why I'm asking that question, Donna, is because you said something earlier. It's something that we try to take on, and the task is so insurmountable that we as human beings, it's tough. You got to believe in something that's pulling you forward. If not, it's going to be a rough, really rough way to go. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could call it faith, or you could just call it belief. But it's that, you need that like fire. Like, that's what
Yep.
happened to me. Like, like,
Hmm.
this happened, then all of a sudden I took this course, and I was like, oh my God, like everything in my being, I could feel that this
Hmm.
was the right direction. And did I have money to go to school to get served? No, I barely had any saving. You know what I mean? But was I well enough to really sit at a computer to go through training, because I wanted to learn more so I could really, become embodied it? No,
Hmm.
but like that fire underneath me just kind of made it like, this, everything's just going to work out. Like, all of a sudden something just clicked. So like, it's like, you do have to believe, but at the same time, you have to have that passion about it. Like, it's like, it kind of, you live and breathe it. Like, when you wake up, you get excited. Like, if you're not getting excited about something, then
Right.
it's probably not a passion or something you want to do as
Yep.
much as you think you want to do it. Like, I remember my mom when I was little, I always said, oh, I want to be a cook. And my mom's like, you're not in my way enough to want to be a cook.
Uh,
Like, if you really want to do this, you'd be in my way all the time in the kitchen. Then I discovered I liked baking. That's what I did before this. I
hmm.
owned my own bake shop,
Oh
and
wow.
I was constantly in her way. I was constantly in everyone's way with baking. And it was a passion. It made me happy,
Hmm.
it was a hobby that turned into a career, and now this is something that's even deeper for me, that is becoming a career. But like, that's how I always tell people, it's faith, it's also belief, but it's in yourself. You don't need to believe in the things so much around you. You need to believe in yourself like others do, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and that's where it comes. And also, just being able to identify, is this really fulfilling me? Does this feel expansive? Does this make me
Right.
feel alive?
Right.
Because if it doesn't, then it's probably not the right thing. And it may be the right thing later, but not at this time. And that's kind
Hmm.
of how I even go about everyday life. I'll kind of ask, like, if I'm unsure, I'm like, how excited am I about this? Like, is this a yes or is this a no? I don't have that maybe
Hmm.
anymore in between. It either lights me up and it feels really good, or it doesn't.
Right, right, right. Now you pretty much work virtual. Do you also work in person?
Well, most of the time, I've never coached in person yet. I would love to do that, but most people are more comfortable like through like Zoom or
Hmm.
or over the phone. I prefer at least Zoom because you can connect better, like face to face. But I have met some local clients like in like, libraries or like, coffee shops and stuff for that initial meeting. But most people are more comfortable with virtual. I think ever since COVID, that kind of
Hearing you say
didn't
that is so amazing. We've lived a life where people went from in person to virtual and
virtual.
got comfortable with it.
Yeah,
We've
I like
experienced that.
me personally, I like doing in-person workshops and speaking
Yeah,
engagements because I feel like I can connect with people better, but because of how our world is, I do both. So
yeah.
I can it be in person or online.
Right, right, right. That now with the synergy between single moms, entrepreneurs, somebody being abused, they're trying to get something off of them. They're trying to lessen a burden that's riding them, right?
Yes.
Um, Now, when you're working with that, and there are different degrees, I understand that different people have different circumstances, but the one synergistic thing is that they're trying to release a burden and step into a new place in their life by getting rid of that burden.
Yes.
When you're coaching them, how do you get directly to the core of it and pull them forward?
Yes. Well, one of the things that I tap into and that I deeply believe in is longing and disconnect that we feel, our life's way of tapping us on the shoulder and inviting us to grow. So what I'll do is I'll really work with a client so they can figure out what their longing is and what their
Hmm.
disconnect is. And then from there, we'll start to look at like their paradigms, like what
Hmm.
are the fears and the blocks that are preventing them from moving towards what they long for. So that's where I start with my
Hmm.
clients, is identifying the longing and disconnect and start noticing, teaching them how to notice things around them, like notice what you're noticing.
Hmm.
So like they can actually, one of the exercises I'll do is literally just have them close their eyes if they're comfortable and just talk about them, and about, like, oh, and, like now you're moving from your shoulders down to their arms, making them more aware of like where their hands are. They may be on the desk, they may be this, or your feet may be on the floor, to teach them to how to feel and be more aware of their own self as well as their surroundings, and then adapt that to life. And when that awareness starts happening, those little sparks start going off, the longing and disconnect is easier to identify, and as well as the paradigms, which are the blocks. And then
Hmm.
once we can start moving through that, that's when we can start closing or bridging the gap between where they are currently and where they want to be. And it's an ongoing thing. It's not like, hey, let's just identify this and now we're good to go. You're going to constantly keep doing it. I'm just giving the tools and guidance on how to. So if life throws something else at you, you can work through it instead of getting stuck or feel like you're going backwards.
Right, right. That's
So
great.
but yeah, but for me, that's where I start, because those are the things that I feel like you need to be aware of before you can move forward.
Right, right. I when you talk about the blocks, people create issues. They create I'm not going to say they create it, the mindset. You can take two people and one can go and they can go through the same situation and one will feel abused and the other one will deflect it and not feel it. You
Mhm.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
and we talk about the mindset. Do you utilize that at all? If someone's going through something, and you might have clients that have gone through similar things, and the other one is less phased than the other,
Another, yeah.
right? So it
Hmm.
could be their circumstances, how they grew up, their
Hmm.
environment, all those things.
Yeah.
Is that one of the targets that you try to get them to see and understand that you don't have to accept this? You don't, and it's here. You don't have to accept it. And do you use analogies with other clients? How because that's a key point. Because we're all different, you know?
Oh yeah, everyone's different and everyone's had different experiences and everyone, their circumstances and situations and challenges and all that stuff are different. And the mind, but the thing is the way everyone's mind is, if you learn certain tools and tricks of like how to overcome thoughts, because
Hmm.
thoughts lead to feelings, which then lead to actions, and which then lead to results. So it's all about learning how to shift your train of thought. That's what I work on with everyone, and that's what I was saying before. Like, even simple words that you use, like instead of like, I need this or I want this, it's like, I would love to go to Colorado and see the rock. You know what I mean? Like, instead of I want to go or I need to go, it's
Sure.
like, it's all about changing how to flip your thoughts. So then your feelings are different. So like, let's say that you have higher vibrational words that you're using, right? Even
Hmm.
if you're in a lower vibe situation, because that's where you are
Right.
in life, it will raise your vibrations just enough so your feelings are different. You won't be as down or sad or angry. Like, you'll kind of help elevate yourself,
Hmm.
which then your feelings are different because you'll be more in a positive mindset. And then your actions are different. Instead of, let's saying, I just want to hide in my room all day because this happens, you're like, okay, I'll go take a walk, get some fresh air and clear my head. Like,
Right. Right.
it's all about, but it takes time. And, but it's all about helping clients, figure out how to shift their thinking, because thoughts really do become things. I know that's like one of those phrases, but they really do. They affect everything in your whole core body and everything that surrounds you, as well as the people.
Right.
So, and everyone thinks differently, so you got to figure out what makes them tick, what makes them, what brings them joy and all that stuff, and kind of help you, not push, but guide them or navigate them to those feelings, to really
Right.
feel it. That's all about visions that I help clients do, like, literally just say that, this is what you want in life, and this is where you want to go. But now talk about it as if you're living it right now. So I go into clients being very detailed with how they're feeling, where are they standing, where are
Right.
they, all that stuff, so they can really start to feel where they want to be in the present moment. And
Mm.
then there's a whole bunch of other, exercises and things, but the mind is very powerful.
Very powerful. Very powerful. And we only tap into very little, less
Yes.
than a percentage of what we can really do. And you mentioned something as far as words, manifesting things. Your words matter. What goes
Yeah.
out of your mouth back into your ears, it
Yeah.
matters so much. And we have the ability to control that. And I think the more people who go through some circumstances and come out on the other side, you realize that. And like you're able to help people because of what you've gone through.
Yeah.
Um, Talk a little bit about the economics. What do you charge? Is it insurance, no insurance? How do people get to you? What do they expect?
Yeah, so I have all different packages on different
Okay.
levels. My smallest one is a 3-month program.
Mm-hmm.
So, and generally speaking, what I charge for the 3-month program is 1,800. Um, and then I offer payment plans and all that as well. And the 3-month program, we meet on Zoom, in person, or whatever, once a week. They can contact me as much as they want through text messaging, email, and all that stuff. There's, we have like I have a program book. We'd have different activities. It's a lot of fun, but at the same time, it will, bring things up. You're going to transform when you go through it. And then I also have a 6-month program, and then I have a year program. So that's kind of how I do it. And then I also do workshops. So they're kind of like short, like I'll host workshops places.
Sure.
And so they're kind of like, it could be like a 1-day event, or it could be like a 3-day event. So it all kind of depends on,
Right.
what's
Right.
up. But on my website, I do post anytime I'm hosting something. I also post when other coaches are hosting things,
Mm-hmm.
as well as other wellness and health, events, as far as vendors and things like that. So it just kind of, it depends. But my strategy calls, I always do. I never charge for them. So if anyone is interested in just, talking a little bit further, getting to know more about the program or anything, you can go to my website and just sign up. And I'd love to, connect with you.
Yeah.
But that's really the starting point, because like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't ever want to take on a client that I don't feel like I can help.
Right.
I'd rather push, kind of guide them to someone else that would be a better fit.
Right.
But so the complimentary, I never charge. Some coaches will charge for that, but I will never charge for like the strategy session, because I really just want to get to know you and
Right.
and them to get to know me, and then we always can work things out. Is
Yeah.
how I do it.
Donna, outside of the pricing itself, when you really look at it, and you said 18 over 3 months is $600 a month, but when you really look at it, do you know how much stress causes us to go to the doctor for so
Yeah.
many things? It unearths so many things. You're dealing with people that are in high stress situations daily.
Yep.
And if it doesn't get released and they don't get to understand what they're doing, it's gonna misdirect and turn into something else. Now you're in the hospital.
Yes.
So when you said that, I'm like, that is very, very reasonable, and it works. It works. It should work for a lot of people. You
Yeah.
know, through this conversation, what are a couple of things that you want the audience to go away with, based on our dialogue today?
That you are, enough. Okay. And when you feel that enough is enough moment, that's where real lasting transformation begins. And that's when you draw the line in that sand, and the moment of honesty and commitment, no matter how painful or messy it is like your birthplace of your new future. So always remember that when enough is enough, don't, like, take that step and like make change, because you're going to live such a better life, and that you can, create new results, even from like old patterns, like, because you're going to release those. And transform, like, life coaches are here to help. So if you truly want a life you love, you have to be willing to think, feel, and act differently. Your comfort zones are cozy, but nothing there grows. You got to start stepping out. And that's where I always have the phrase, the baby step.
Hmm.
And then
Well,
oh, go
I,
ahead,
I have to
sorry.
get I have to get one more question in.
Oh yeah, sorry.
How do you when we talk about prevention nowadays, so somebody doesn't get to a point where enough is enough, tell the audience a couple of things that they should be aware of to understand you're kind of going downhill, you're going down the wrong path. You got to catch this early and get some help before it gets there. What are some of those things you can tell?
I so what I would tell people is, there are times where, like, like, something bad happens, like your car stalls or something like that, and those are like one moment things. But if you start to consistently have a chain of, like, even if they're smaller, like, life
Mm,
challenges or things like that, that's when you should kind of open your eyes and be like, what is going on? Like, what am I doing? Uh, you
right.
know, the same, that's, helping
Yeah.
these things come in instead of, good things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I always say, if there's a chain event of, even it could be minor things, it doesn't have to be anything huge, where you're just like, oh my God, again, like, or oh, why do bad things always happen to me? That's where you should really be like, I need to, change things up a little bit and kind of be more
Right.
aware of the patterns that I continuously keep creating and, going over and over again.
Perfect, Donna. Perfect answer. Donna, thank you for so much on attending the show. The show is called Undiscovered Gems, and you definitely dropped a few gems on the audience today because stress is a factor, holding on to your burdens is a factor, and really trying to live the life that we want to live. Everybody aims for that. And I'm glad that you're in the business to transform lives so that we can do that. Thank you for attending the show, Donna.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Okay. Hope to talk to you again another time.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Undiscovered Gems with our host, Charles D. Smith, highlighting today's best and brightest business minds. Brought to you by Pods Entertainment Group.